All right, here we go. Wisconsin, 4-cylinder. It's for the Bobcat M-610 hydraulic pump, connected to the motor through a Lovejoy connector, distributor cap, fuel line, throttle assembly, fan, starter. Let's see if we can get down there. It is. So this is the start of the Wisconsin 4-cylinder motor that came out of the M610. We got the frame done tonight, so this is the next item up for bid. Put it on an upside down shelf, put a piece of plywood on there, give me a spot to put my parts, as well as a nice area pretty close to where I need to be to work on it for my height. The plug that's on here, you can see it's kind of jury rigged, and then when you follow the wires down into here, you'll see, oh man, don't know where that went. Wasn't hooked to anything. This barely is making connection. So we got a little bit of a road ahead of us. Carburetor in there, that's the fuel line going into it. See what we can come up with. So it was probably a good idea that I took these shrouds off. Let's see if we got any babies in here. I don't think we do, but this is a big old mouse nest, and as you can see, it's packed in here pretty good. Come around this other side and maybe dig it out. Move the camera back a little bit so we can see what we got going down onto the floor here. So if I would have started this motor up, chances are it would have caught fire eventually. And then this is all their seeds that they have stashed in here, and dirt. I'm not sure if the seeds are from the mice or if that's just from running this thing in a good God Almighty. Yeah, I don't think it would have ran long because there was no way of it getting air. But this is exactly why I decided to take all the shrouds off and just go through it. Let's see what I got here. Just the fins are packed full of stuff that the mice had put in there. I'm going to have a heck of a time getting these screws out though. That screw there broke off on me, and I'm sure I'm going to struggle through these. But this is what I'm up against. And I figure you guys would get a kick out of watching this. So this is just one side and one panel that I took off. Can't wait to see what the other panels have to offer. All right, we'll check back with you in a little bit. Welcome to the Wisconsin War Zone. So this is my Wisconsin motor that I showed you a little earlier. I got all my shrouds off. Unfortunately, in the process of getting the shrouds off, I have broken and busted out quite a few of the screws, the bolts that hold it in. Here's where the fuel pump went. Here's where the carburetor and throttle linkage was. Down here is where the hydraulic pump mounted to it, and apparently that was an add-on feature that you had to add on yourself, because whoever put this on drilled right through the block. When I took those two bolts out on the bottom, I had oil running out of the block, so had to clean that up, put that bracket back on there, and work from there. So got all my shrouds off. The next step is going to be to try to get this nut off. I tried to get that nut off last night unsuccessfully, put heat to it, put the old Shedingo oil to it, the Creole oil, and no good. So once I get that nut off, I'm going to pull that flywheel off. That'll allow me to take this shroud off. The reason I need to take this shroud off is underneath here it is all tore up. It's a great big hole underneath there. So if anybody knows how these motors work, they are air cooled, and this thing sucks air in through here and throws it up into the head. So if I have a big hole, I don't know if you can see that hole down in there, at the bottom, that's going to let all my air come out the bottom. It's not going to direct it over the heads where I need it. So I'm going to have to tear that shroud apart and fix that, either with sheet metal or find a new shroud. So that's where I stand. When I pulled those two bolts out and oil ran everywhere, you can see the stain on my bench here. Had to run over, get the engine lift, grab this, pick it up, put it over there on the floor, and clean up all the oil. Thank gosh that I had Stay Dry. Just did pick that up when Dad was down. Dad picked it up, and he said, "Here, keep this here." Well, it's a good thing I had it. I made a little dam all the way around the motor. Down here are all of my shrouds that I've taken off. And over here are all of my components that I've taken off. Starter, hydraulic pump, fuel pump, carburetor, coil, spark plug wires, throttle linkage. You know, there's quite a few parts laying over here, quite a few parts laying over there, nuts and bolts in there. Tools laying everywhere. So that's why I'm calling this the Wisconsin War Zone, because right now this thing is fighting me tooth and nail. We are making progress on it. This was after about 6 hours of tearing down on it. Tried to label all of my wires best I could, have wires that weren't even hooked up to anything. They were just hanging on the other side, and so got to figure out what all those wires are for. But this is an old Wisconsin 4-cylinder, goes in that Bobcat right there, and I'll just kind of give you a brief view inside here. Bolt, 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 engine mount. So this is the side that fan shroud will be on, so it can suck air in through the intake, circulate it around the heads, and expel it up at the top of the heads. This hole here is actually where the clutch assembly goes on that shaft, and then the pulley here goes, or the belt goes around the pulley. So everything that's in here is pretty much finalized, labeled, you know, put new wiring on this throughout, and labeled everything, so when I put the motor in there, I know what connects where. I'm hoping I know what connects where. So this is just an update on the Bobcat M-610. Wanted to show you my Wisconsin motor. Sorry that I don't have a stabilizer on my camera. I know when I'm walking it's going up and down and side to side. Sorry about all that. What do you expect from a redneck? So, got some work ahead of me. Think I have a head leaking. Not sure. This side over here looks awful damp. Don't know if that was something that leaked in the barn, or if that is a head gasket leaking or whatever. So hopefully I can get a compression test done. I did look on the internet to find somebody that specializes in Wisconsin. I did find a gentleman over in Hanover, Maryland. I may contact him and, get some advice from him. So, Bobcat M-610. Still haven't touched this. I want to get the motor done before I get into that. So we're making progress. I think I picked this up on December 11th. Today is March 11th. So that's 3 months that I've been working on it. Haven't been putting a whole lot of time into it here lately. It's been getting warm outside and I've been kind of tinkering around outside. So kind of putting this to the wayside. But yeah, we're getting it. Thanks for watching, and man, stay tuned, subscribe. If you like what you see, give me thumbs up. If you don't, give me thumbs down. Comment, let me know what you think. We got a whole bunch of stuff going on in this garage right now. I got the Bobcat going on. We picked up this tractor. Dad wants to put that seat on the back so 2 people can ride on the tractor. Got the snowplow rigged up. Had to do some welding on that. First time we took it out, broke a couple welds. And then this is our road jalopy. We have that on YouTube as well, going down the road. We fixed it. We broke the shaft again on the 3rd time out. So yeah, we got some stuff going on around here, but it's all good. Pretty soon, we just need to make more room, maybe add a section on the back of the garage or something. So what do you do when you need to pull a flywheel and you don't have a puller that fits it? I'll show you. You make one. So this was a puller kit that my dad had given me, but I didn't have any arms or anything long enough, so we cut out of sheet metal for right now to see if this will work. But we laid out the patterns for the screws that held the screen on, and then we cut a center hole in the metal and mounted bolts that extend down, and we're going to take this over there and bolt it up and see if it'll work. Alright, so that's what my puller looks like in place, and as you can see, we're on the center hub there. So I'm going to turn the camera off because I don't like to record my failures, but this is going to be our first attempt. If it works, we'll show you what the flywheel looks like off of the motor. Alright, so we've been tapping on it, tightening up on it, and what's starting to happen is it's starting to rip these holes. I don't know if you can see that. The holes were nice and tight, but they are starting to rip the holes out now. So what I've been doing is tightening up on that and then coming around on the back side and just tapping on the where the starter goes in with just a small ball peen hammer with no luck. Alright, so here's an update on the Bobcat M-610. We finally got the flywheel off. As you can see, the shroud was pretty tore up on the bottom side. That's why I went ahead and ordered a new shroud on eBay. The rest of the shroud we kind of cut to get out of the way because we were struggling with getting the flywheel off. We finally got that flywheel off today, and the teeth hit the ground here. I had a bag of rags underneath of it yesterday. Today we cleaned up a little bit before we got started on it and forgot to put the bag of rags down there, and sure enough it hit the concrete floor with the starter teeth. So we'll come over here real quick. Actually, I'll take you to the garbage can. This was our original puller that we made for the flywheel. That did not work. As you can see, it just pulled it out and everything else. So we took a piece of 1/4-inch steel and put the same puller in the center and used the existing holes. So I don't know if you can see that or not. In the flywheel, there's a total of 5 of them. And there's the flywheel. So we finally got the flywheel off. That was one of the things that was holding us up. I took a file and kind of filed off some edges here. That's where it hit the concrete when it landed on the floor. So that's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. There's my new shroud underneath there, waiting to go in place of this one. I'm not sure if I'm going to work on the motor before I put the shroud back on. That's probably going to be what happens. So this is an update on the Bobcat M-610, the new shroud, the cut up shroud, the flywheel on the bench, Pop Gringo in his office working diligently as normal, and his little dog being a pain in the ass to the presidente of the company. The fan is running. It's a warm June day. I wanted to have the Bobcat done by July. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. There's been a couple of setbacks. I don't know if I've mentioned this or not, but after I pulled this apart, this tube right here is bent. I don't have a straight edge right with me, but this tube, if you look down this way, it's bent like a banana. So that's a setback. This flywheel was a setback, as well as there were a few other things that are a setback for us. So not sure I can get it done by July, but that was my target date. It doesn't look like we're going to get there, but we'll try. Talk to you later. Just in case I didn't document this, my workbench is a mess. We've been doing projects left and right, all kinds of stupid stuff. Initially, I made this out of sheet metal. That's for some of my sign making. It wasn't big enough. It was tearing the holes out, didn't put enough pressure on it. So then we relayed it out, and as you can see, I had to drill a couple holes bigger and made it so that the puller would pull on it. And this is the flywheel. And trust me when I tell you, when this thing came off, it came off with vengeance. It popped a wrench all the way across the room, struck the wall, and this thing flew about 3 foot before it hit the concrete. And I think I documented this already, but I just want to document this again. I'm not sure where the teeth are that it hit, but if you look real close, and I don't know if that's going to show it or not, I did take a file and just file off that front edge where the Bendix throws that gear out and hits the starter all the time. But we did have a spot where, you know, it hit the concrete. So there's the flywheel. We finally got that off. We've been working on that for a little while. And tell you what, while we got you, let's run you right over here. As you can see, we had a couple of projects going on. Repainted the manifold, no big deal. But here are the hydraulic cylinders. This one is still bent. It's not going to straighten itself out. There is one on the computer right now on eBay. I believe that I am going to go ahead and purchase it here shortly. The other thing that we have is this new shroud, and man, this thing, I forget the eBay seller, but this thing is in awesome shape. You know, he said that there was some rust on the bottom. There's hardly any rust on the bottom. Starter mounts here, shaft goes through here, and then this is going to circulate the air across the heads. So we got our new shroud. The only thing I do have to do is take this bracket off. I believe that bracket was for the air cleaner. I've seen a couple of Wisconsins for like ditch witches and stuff like that, where that bracket is used to hold the air cleaner. So I thought initially that it was used to hold the start button and the ignition system, but I believe it was used to hold the air cleaner. So there's my shroud. There's what's left over of the parts. We've got all that shrouding, a couple of hydraulic arms that we don't have, fuel pump and starter and everything's underneath there, and some lines underneath there. Back behind here we got all our hydraulic lines that go on the boom. That still needs to be taken care of, but first I got to get this here. Once I get this, then I'll worry about the hydraulic hoses and lines. So right now, still don't have the tires on. Here's where it sits, getting dusty. I normally have it covered, but I wanted to blow the dust off of it before I covered it up, and I haven't done that yet. So there's where the Bobcat M610 is. Pretty much the same as what it's been a couple months ago. Haven't made a whole lot of progress on it. Waiting for my hydraulic rams before I can put my pins back in. I do have to find a couple of pins. The ones that I have are not the right size. I guess whoever had it before me, they put whatever they could find, and it wasn't the right pin. So we're going to get a good set of pins. It was mainly down there on the pivot for the tilt, and that unit is on the floor here. That's the tilt unit that the bucket attaches to. And I see where there's a couple of spots here that were on here and they cut them off. And I'm slowly but surely learning what that was. That was a Bobcat, I think is what they called it. It was a handle set up that you could tilt the tilt, go underneath the bucket, and then there was a handle that you flipped up, and that locked the pins down into the bucket. And somebody apparently cut them off. It was probably bent up pretty good. So Bobcat M-610 update. This is July 2nd. All right, so here's where we're at. I went ahead and I halfway sandblasted this to get it cleaned up. I didn't get all the grease out of the head, but I got a good percentage of it. Just wanted to go over it real quick with a sandblaster and get off all the heavy deposits on the fins as well as on the block, and I think we've accomplished that. So after I sandblasted it, I went ahead and sprayed it down with WD-40. Now you wonder, now why'd you sandblast it and then spray it down with WD-40? It's a very humid day. It wouldn't take long at all for this thing to start getting surface rust on it. So that's why we sprayed it down with WD-40. I still have to degrease it. I am going to degrease it one more time, and then we're going to get some high temperature primer or paint and primer. Not sure what is out there just yet, but definitely want to get high temperature. Hopefully it'll last a little longer. Being that it's air cooled, I think I'm going to go with all white. Never seen a cylinder white, but I guess it'll last as long as it'll last, and then it'll turn to rust and go to dust just like it did over the last 40 years. So here's where we're at on the Wisconsin motor. The other day I finally got the shroud off. I'm not sure if I documented that or not. I know I had some video where the shroud was beat up and cut up, and we had a heck of a time getting that shroud off. That shroud bolted on here, 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 and here. I did show earlier that I bought a new shroud off of eBay. It did have a bracket on it. We got to cut that bracket off. As soon as we get that bracket cut off, then we'll start priming it up as well, and we'll get things ready to put back together. So that's where we stay in Wisconsin for the Bobcat M610. Looks a lot better than it did a week ago, thanks to Pop-Up Gringo. Whenever he comes down, he kind of motivates me to come back out in the garage and get started again. I don't want to turn the camera around on myself, but it's July 2nd. It's about, I don't know, maybe 90 degrees outside, and it's been raining off and on. So the humidity's about probably 105%, even though it's not dripping. It is a humid day. So we'll update you as we go.